I wouldn't consider myself a perfect person, and I definitely wouldn't consider myself a perfect driver. And it was unfortunate, but sometimes this would consequently be reflected in Francisco's driving as well. And it would be doubly unfortunate that he did not seem to react as one who had suffered a motorcycle accident. He would immediately get up and get back into the foray, and when he failed to display any form of injury or even dissatisfaction, it made it difficult to keep the speedometer within a safe driving limit. It didn't help that he was now in tip-top shape. Francisco was now a triathlete, dead-eye, bodybuilder, ninja pro racing flying ace with a clean bill of mental health. He had an apartment in the hills and another apartment at the base, and the fact that he could die with little to no repercussions led him to live a strangely reckless and dangerous life, all the while maintaining the personal aspiration of multiplayer pacifism. Achieving these intrapersonal accomplishments and these arbitrary societal goals had been more fulfilling than I'd like to admit, but their completion had coincidentally stolen any sense of direction. Francisco did not have a compulsory need to do anything, and yet he still existed, and it was alarming to think he had no direction to pursue. This new lack of direction was of course temporary, as I soon decided to assume Francisco must be exhausted from all of the self-improvement, and he deserved a break for some recovery. There was an inaccessible bathtub in his new apartment, and the swimming pool in his other new apartment, but a Google search had revealed that aside from the occasional backyard property, the best location of a functional jacuzzi was on the aft deck of a yacht. I assumed for some reason that Google did not have all the information, that there must be somewhere else that offered a spa-type, self-actualization style relaxation, so I did my best to don appropriate attire for the hot tub hunt and set out to search for access to one. Within a few minutes, I was at the beach, only to discover nature's hot tub and this yacht. Although I knew a jacuzzi might be on board, it felt inappropriate to simply board an abandoned vessel in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. I drove back into the city to resume the search for a day spa, hotel, or block party, but during this citywide scan, Francisco's motorcycle was destroyed by a murderer, and his phone call to make an insurance claim about his motorcycle was interrupted by the same murderer. This meant, now that his motorcycle was destroyed, that if I was to reduce Francisco's hospital bills as well as minimize the money he dropped upon death, I would need to quickly find a place safe from snipers and the land vehicles which ferried them from crime scene to crime scene. Although I thought the other beachgoers were slightly overreacting to Francisco's choice of beachwear, I soon realized they were fleeing the sniper who hadn't given up, and who was pelting the waves with high-powered ammunition. At this point, however, I remembered Francisco could dive, and he did, deep into the water. I boarded the vessel seeking refuge, and I found it almost immediately, being informed by a tooltip that no weapons were allowed. A kind of relief set over, compounded by the fact that my perhaps biased chosen asylum was equipped with a jacuzzi. Francisco was alarmingly quick to shed his shirt, unlike when he entered any other body of water, and after trying one or two places, he found a nice comfortable seat to enjoy the hot tub experience. Several camera angles later, the warm colors and soothing sounds started to lose their full effect, and this relaxation opportunity did not feel entirely right. It wasn't the possible trespassing/need for refuge that was bothersome as much as it was this wonderful experience wasn't being shared with anyone else. It was very lonely, in fact, emphasized by the 7 empty seats. And although it wasn't his to share per se, I was hoping that the other players might come join him on this unmarked anonymous ship in the middle of the ocean. It wasn't long until this wish came true, except instead of joining Francisco on board, the pilot of a fighter plane fired explosive rounds into its pristine deck. Francisco sought double refuge within the observation deck of the ship, only to learn that, like most windows, these offered no protection from rockets whatsoever. I decided once again the safest place was under the water, and as Francisco and I held our breath, we eventually lost the interest of what I am now assuming was the yacht's owner or protector, as we witnessed a second death of Francisco's former antagonist, fate balancing their exchange before the sun fully set. The insurance company provided a new motorcycle, and after recording the memory, Francisco headed home. He didn't need to work on self-improvement anymore, and he had an excess of possessions. But what he was lacking in was a community of people to enjoy his peaceful world with, and the aspiration to create that community would replace the former desire to optimize his own being. This new goal, visualized, was to obtain a hot tub available for everyone, without perilous flying bodyguards or the excuse of being chased by a sniper to board. $6 million was a lot of money, but it wasn't unattainable. There were many ways to get money without hurting anyone, and although many of the options available to Francisco could be dangerous or risky, for the first time he actually had a goal worth fighting for: the creation of a peaceful environment worth sharing with others. And although I wasn't sure, it appeared that the game had just offered a brand new way to accomplish this.